Today's episode is going to be so much fun. I can't wait. I'm joined by amazing friend, illustrator, and creative collaborator, Harleigh Manske of Doppy's Official, as we go behind the scenes of two very near and dear to my heart activity books, JoAnn's Camptacular activity book and Riley's Space-tacular activity book. Harleigh, I'm so excited you're back with us again. I can't wait to share what we do behind the scenes because I feel like we've mastered brainstorming, don't you?
We really have. We really have. And I'm so excited to be on this new episode too. I'm so glad to be a recurring guest. I'm so honored. But we really have mastered the art of brainstorming creative activities and even just creative ventures. So much so that before we started our interview, we were talking for an hour and a half?
I know. It's like we can go off on subject after subject after subject.
We really can.
And one of the things that I feel that we are so good at, Harleigh, is you started out with coloring sheets for me. Then what can I do next with Harleigh? And I feel like I am a little bit too. What else can we do together that we could create? And I've always wanted to do an activity book. I knew that camping was a great theme, and I know that space is a great theme. I don't know whether Lou's Zoo would be such a great theme for an activity book, only because of the subject matter. And because I'm a camper, and I see kids all the time out camping, and at night you're sitting around the campfire, but there's so many fun activities. Share some of your ideas, Harleigh, and where you get those ideas, and we'll keep sharing of how we did it together.
So I remember when you reached out to me, even for the space book, because the space book is what we did first. And you reached out to me and you were, I want to create an activity book based on my space books because your space themed books, I've read all of them and I think they're awesome. They're really great stories. My son, who's also 6 years old now, but he was closer to 4 or 5 when I read them to him. He was so infatuated with the concept of space. He loved it and he was like, oh my gosh, that was so fun. And I'm like, okay, cool. So when you were like, we should make a space activity book, I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. That's such a good topic for little kids to help with their developmental skills, and they learn about astronomy and space, and it's really cool. So when you were like a space book, immediately my brain was like, what activities are we going to do?
I feel like that's the best part of what we do. We get on a phone call and we throw these ideas out between the two of us. I know I had some things already created, or you had ideas, and then we just bring all that together. I don't know. It's magic.
It is magic.
It really is magic what we do together.
Yeah, I truly love it. I cherish every project that we do together. And so being able to physically hold these books is so cool. And being able to flip through all the different activities and designs directly based on your books is really cool to see. But you are a brainstorming powerhouse. I can brainstorm for sure, but you're let's do this idea. So I think what I'm good at in this side of our collaboration is I can refine your ideas. I'm like, okay, I like this idea and I like this idea. Can we put it together? So that's kind of how I take your creativity and actually make it into a page.
Yes. And you're right. A good example of that, Harleigh, was this mobile, this space mobile.
Yeah, the mobile's really cool.
I wanted something with and tell them how long this took you. This took a while.
The mobile took me probably an hour and a half to 2 hours to actually perfect and get the layout right because as self-published authors, we kind of have to learn laying out and formatting and all that. So I was like, okay, when it's printed, I want them to be exactly front and back, has to line up perfectly.
Yes.
So that way, when they cut it out, all the designs are intact and you don't get any cutoffs. So that one took an hour and a half to 2 hours, but it was so worth it.
Yes, it was. And I didn't even think when you were creating that, I didn't think about seeing the backside of it. So the kids are in the book, we have blank pages on the opposite side of the coloring pages, so they can use markers, they can use whatever kind of medium they want to use. But I thought it was brilliant that on the back side of this page, on the back side of the sun page, it's identical. So the kids have to color both sides. And when it's hanging up, obviously, same way with the planets, right? They're seeing both sides. I thought that was brilliant because you think in a coloring book, you're only going to get that one side.
I intentionally did it, like laid it out that way because I'm thinking about what my child likes to see from coloring and doing activity books and whatever. I use him a lot for inspiration. So I think that kind of gives me my edge. He does a lot of activities and coloring, and even at school, they bring home these paper crafts, and I look at the paper crafts and I'm like, oh, I like how they did that, or how it was double-sided. Like if it's something on a stick, you can see it on both sides. So that's basically where the inspiration came from. Also, when I was a kid, another reason why I like to do single-sided activity books, so it's like blank on one side and then it has the activity on one page, is I used to tear out my pages out of the coloring books when I was little, and I like to like make a gallery in my room, and I would like tape them all up. But then I would feel bad if I wanted to tape one up on the wall and then another one was hiding. So by making the activity books and the pages single-sided gives your kids more opportunity to do whatever they want with that one page, whether that be cut it out, put it on their wall, use markers so there's bleed through. So yeah, the versatility in these books are chef's kiss, if I say so myself.
Exactly. Like this one is a picture of Riley, and then it's eyes, head, nose. So you color it and then you cut these out and the kids paste. Some of these are so unique, Harleigh, that even yours in your activities on your website, I love like the flower that has the petals. You have so many unique ideas. And that's where I think between me having the ideas of what I want from my books, I already know my books, so I knew what I wanted. But then you to put them all together and the creativity of that was so genius. I loved that.
Thank you. Yeah, because I started making activity pages for my son originally when he was 3 or 4, because I am an illustrator, so I can make my own activity pages. And I did make my own activity pages essentially for on my website for people to download themselves, and also a way that I can market my books. So originally I did that. But then for my son, I see people posting about these free activity pages, but they're not exactly what I want for my son. So I would make them myself, and I would make these busy book pages for him. So just making these activity pages for him, I know exactly what kids want out of an activity book.
Exactly. And then as we brainstormed, there were a lot of ideas. Coloring pages are coloring pages, dot to dot. I don't want to say typical, but you really got creative with dot to dot. That was the word that they're outlining, like star. And then they're outlining those letters in those words. The academics of it, they're learning spelling. They learn the tracing skill of the motor skills. They're learning how to spell and what that rocket ship, what that might look like, stars, planets. You did that in the camping one as well, the camping book as well. One of the things that my editor always tells me is my books are multi-layered. And I got to thinking about these activity books, and they are multi-layered. When I went to a farmer's market and a mom opened them up and she said, "Oh my gosh, this is not just a coloring book." Somebody had pulled it out and said, "Oh, this is just a coloring book." And I said, "No, take a little closer look." Another mom was there and said, "Oh, look at this." Or maybe it was a teacher
Love that.
that said all the different educational. And then we always put fun facts, I feel like, in there too.
Fun facts are fun. I still love fun facts. I'm almost 30. I'm a big fan of fun facts. So who doesn't love them?
At the very beginning, what I did for those listeners out there, is I wanted you to have those books. So I sent you all 3 of those books or 4 of those books that we were using. Here's the books for a PDF so you can see. I knew what pages I wanted, or you looked at them and said, no, maybe this page would be better, because you were creating that activity page and I could see the art of it, but you could see the activity of it. And that is what came together as well.
Yeah, I think that's it, the beauty of like working with other authors, because like, you're my first one to do activity books. But
Oh, I didn't know
yeah,
that.
you're the first one. And it's because of you that I've like created making more like activity books for other authors. Cause I'm like, oh, if I could do this for JoAnn, I could do this for other people. So I've made more activity books for other authors.
Activity books and pages. I love that, because we have so many ideas and so many things to talk about. That's why we can talk for hours.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's starting with you. It's like I know exactly what I need to do, or like what I need to find in that PDF. Like I know what I need to look for in order to make those pages for you. And also reading the book helps. So I read the books before I actually make the pages, and I'm like, okay, how is this going to enhance the literacy development and promote like better reading comprehension with the little kids with these activity pages? So I think it's like
Yes.
creates a nice little ecosystem for your books, especially.
Yes. And I feel like we evolved from Riley's activity book to John's activity book. Mainly, John's Adventures at Yellowstone Park is a little higher age group, maybe I'm going to say, because it's a longer story. There's some real technical facts in there.
Yeah.
But yet it made great for activities as well. Some of those activities are some really cool activities too.
And I'm not biased or anything, but I think the activities in both books are great. But yeah, the camping one's really cool because you wanted a junior ranger program in your activity book, which is also highlighted in the book. So it's like taking principles from your book and directly into the activity book into more of a hands-on feel is really cool.
And the scavenger hunt was real important to me too. And I had one idea of scavenger hunt, but then you took it to, this is the scavenger hunt, right? Search and discover. Nature walk, ready, set, explore. Not me saying scavenger hunt as a title, but it is, you go out on a hike and then the kids, I can just see them going down the path and saying, there's water, there's a smooth rock, there's a leaf, there's a bird feather, acorn, even a hole in a tree. Having to find on a scavenger hunt out on a nature walk is really cool. Another one that was real important to me, I wanted to make a compass, because I don't even feel adults know what north, south, east, and west is.
Yeah.
I learned many years ago the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Share about the compass and you creating it, because we did have a little bit of a challenge, I'm going to say, for the little hand.
Because the thing with like cut and paste activities is you have to make sure it's big enough, because when you cut it out, let's say on the page, it takes up like this much. And you'd think that a normal compass that is as big as like arrow would be, if anything, that's like really big. But when you cut it out, it's this little like dinky thing that will get crumpled up really easily. Or in young kids' sense, like it will get lost really easily. Like the amount of things that my son loses is bonkers. So making it big enough where it's okay, they can physically see it, and it's also easier for them to cut it out, because little hands and the fine motor skills, they're not so good at like cutting it out. So it gives them more room for error per se. And then I wanted to make it like big enough so that way it's more like exciting to them. Because you know, when you're little, the bigger objects are, you're like, this is so cool. Where if it's actually this big, which is like a normal compass, it's just going to get thrown away pretty easily. Where if it's a substantial activity, they're going to be like, I want to go get my compass. It's little things that, from having a young child myself, that I know what they're looking for.
I like what you did, a little diagram of what the project was going to look like when it was finished. And I think kids looking at that, I was very visual learner. And
Me too.
kids can see, oh, Mom, I want to make that. Look at how it's going to look. Same way with the compass was the same way. That little diagram that you created of the finished product. And we wanted to make sure that you had things around the house to make these, that you didn't have to go to the store and buy something. Talk about that, Harleigh.
So the thing with the compass arrow is like you want it to spin. And the best way to do that, from what I've learned with making all these activity pages and having them at home, is you need like a paper fastener. So that little round thing, and then you like bend the wire underneath to hold it and make it spin. But not everybody has a paper fastener. So taking that into consideration, it's like, okay, what is more common in like a household? So like paper clips are more common, tape is more common, that kind of thing. So taking that into consideration and putting that in the instructions and making it more accessible to every household.
Exactly. And you know what I just thought about we should have did on there? Taking a pencil and poking a pencil through the compass and the arrow. Andy, you could use really anything that's just as long as that hand spins. I just think it was a genius idea that we came up with, the compass. I think it's really a cool idea.
And plus, it's my son made the compass. I use my son as my little tiny guinea pig for any activity
I
page.
love
Because
that.
also with the Space Mobile, I had to print it out at home and I had to cut it out and I had to like put it together to be like, okay, this is actually going to work. And also, this is the size of the planets that I want. And same with the compass. So when I printed out the compass and I basically assembled it myself, my son saw it. He was like, Mommy, can we go to the park and do a scavenger hunt and take the compass? And so we did the scavenger hunt in the camping book he was holding the compass. He's like, okay, now we're going this way. And I'm like, okay, what way is that? What direction is that? And he's like, it's south. And I'm like, no, it's a little to the east, right? So that's like southeast. He's like, yeah. So we found this going southeast. Cool. So that's how like those two activity pages like complement each other.
I had never heard that story before. And I love that your son had the idea. He's a very smart little boy. I hear a lot of stories about him taking the scavenger hunt to the park and the compass. That warms my heart, Harleigh, that he took my activity book to the park and wanted to do all that stuff.
And he saw it immediately and he was like, can we go to the park now? And I'm like, you are so lucky we are walking distance from the park. But yeah, we can go to the park. It was a fun way to get outside. It was a fun way for him to be more screen free. He was more in tune with nature. He was more aware. He was more mindful. And he got to hold the little compass and he was like, oh, we're going this way. So he could like play pretend that we're actually on a hike going on a scavenger hunt and we needed to follow the compass. So brings a level of imagination too. So I thought it was really fun that he did that.
Absolutely. I think so too. Another favorite that I wanted to do is we had to create a shape of a badge. So there's 2 pages of these badges, 18, 9 on each page.
Yep, 18.
And I picked out the most common, sequoias, Bryce Canyon, Glacier Park. So when they took the book, it was important for me that if this ends up in a camper trailer or an RV with parents traveling, they want to go see those national parks and they can color each badge. I thought that would be so fun too.
Yeah, and I know when I showed my son that, he was like, Mommy, can I cut them out? I'm like, oh, geez. If you want, you can. But I think it's cool because he wanted to cut out a badge and wear one.
That is very cool.
He wanted to wear one. I'm going to say we went to the Grand Canyon, so I'm going to wear the Grand Canyon badge. Or I'm the trooper in Grand Canyon. So, like I said before, these activity pages are more versatile than you think, but little minds are very creative and imaginative. So,
I know we're talking a lot about John's camping, and I think that's why I get so excited about the activity book, because there is a lot of cool activities. It was important to me about the Junior Ranger, and I know we had a little bit of a challenge trying to figure out how to put that in the book without too much wording.
yeah.
But I feel like we still needed to do that. The parents help the kids, and it talks about John's Junior Ranger program. Are you ready to be a Junior Ranger? Let's go. There's 5 different things that they have to do, such as show kindness to the earth, like picking up trash. You have to complete one of the items in the book, and then color and cut out, you become a Junior Ranger. And this is like a little certificate in the book that they complete. I loved how this turned out. It may have been a little wordy, but I feel like that's why they have the parents to help tell the story. It's almost like they're reading a story.
Yeah, but it's also, it incentivizes them to actually do the activities. It's okay, you
Yes.
can't be a junior park ranger without doing an activity, so you got to do an activity. So it really like incentivizes using the activity book to its fullest potential.
It's not just a coloring book. We have word search. But you know what I really liked about this is we implemented a lot of the Yellowstone. Like, here's one that the kids have to actually create their own campsite, which is a drawing exercise, but also there's science in it, the actual geysers and how they are created or how they erupt.
I know you were saying like dot to dot pages. This one is the constellation dot to dot page. So you actually trace all the dot to dots to make the constellation, and then there's the name of the constellation next to it. So then they can learn what the constellation looks like in the sky.
I thought that was brilliant. That was your idea. That's where the brainstorming comes from. That was important to me because families are around that campfire. So that coloring page was one of the most important coloring pages. But how can we turn it into another level?
Yeah, you can learn something from it. So you're not just coloring, like you're actually learning something from it. And you can actually
That's
like
right.
take what you learn and like actually like apply it immediately, especially if you're around a campfire. Because then you can be like, okay, look up, like let's look at this. This is what it's shaped like. Can we see if we can find those stars?
And the Riley's activity book, we have a bonus section for the pumpkins, which I thought that was a great idea. I want to say the pumpkins didn't really relate to the space, but yet they related to being unique. And Riley is pretty unique in
She
herself
really is.
of how she is and such an how she empowers young little girls and hopefully little boys as well.
I mean, my son really likes the Riley Space Adventures books. He loves the Riley books. So you're doing your job well. You're empowering little boys and girls.
A lot of people pick up that book and say, well, I'm buying it for a little boy. Should I buy that? And I said, they're going to learn those planets in order from the sun, whether it's a boy in there or whether it's a girl in there. And so sometimes people get, I want to say, a little too technical.
I
I
know,
think
yeah.
boys should read about girls and girls should read about boys. I don't think it needs to be one or the
It
other.
should be equal. Also, I having a little boy, he actually really likes the girl videos and the girl books. Like he likes it. He also doesn't think anything of it. I think what more adults do than what little kids do is they just think too much into it. Because there's a girl on the cover, this is a girl book. But it's like when you look at it, it's like it's not Barbie. It's not like a girl, quote unquote, like stereotypical girl book. My son, he does not care. He's like, I really like space. He's like, I really like, the parks and like hiking and all that. So like he doesn't care who the characters are. He just cares about the actual like activities in there. And plus, like, they're just not judgmental. They'll do whatever.
No, I know. Whatever you give them, it's more, well, your son, you can tell it's more about the project to him. What can he go and take and learn about? I so admire young parents like yourself, Harleigh, that you're an author, you're an illustrator, and you have a son for the testing. It really is. When I have a question for you, when you create these activity pages, Do they just come to you just like that, Harleigh? Or do you have to think about it for a few days? Or how quick does it come to you?
It does not take me a few days. I'd say more the complex ones, I have to mull it over a little bit. Getting the mobile to work, that one obviously was a little bit more complex. And I'm like, okay, what should I do to make this actually work? That takes a while, but I can think of activity page ideas pretty quickly because that's basically all I do is create activity pages now. It's a big part of what I do in my day-to-day life is I make activity pages for other authors. So it's like, okay, basically it's what has happened with me is that I have this little database of pages that I could create that I've already made or taken ideas from other authors. So I'm like, okay, I did a page like this for, so and so I could tweak that and like make it different for you. So it doesn't take me long at all.
That's great. What's your favorite from each book? What's your favorite
Well,
project?
let's see. For Riley, the mobile's really good. Oh, but I really like the puppet. The cutout and color Riley's rover. This one, I really like the puppet because you can put it on a popsicle stick or another like piece of cardboard paper and hold it and you can make it drive and like make it go and fly if you wanted to. I really like that one. That one was really cute. Or let's see, I like a lot of these actually.
I know. It's hard to pick one, isn't
Or the
it?
color by number. This one's
I
really cute.
love that one
I
too.
loved like paint by number and like color by number when I was little. So I'm like, okay, that's really fun. I'd say those are my two favorites from the space one. But from the camping one, man, we probably went over all my favorite pages in the camping one. I think every single one that we talked about in the camping one is like my favorite.
There's so many in the camping. It was important for me to put in the different animals
Yeah.
in Yellowstone. And so you turn that into tracing those. Those are dots, little dots that they trace. And then they also have to guess the word with the animal. And so I felt like that was really creative, not just the words, the names of the animals.
Learners too. So when you're tracing the words, the handwriting tracing, it's like, okay, they can see what the name of the animal looks like, but then they actually pair it to the animal. So there's more of like a connection developed that way.
The multi-layer in both books, I feel like was really so creative. That's where the brainstorming comes from. I got this idea, you have this idea, we come together and it's like this whole other idea, but multi-layered.
Totally.
And I feel like we were really, really good at. A lot of people might think, oh, I can just trace that out of my own book. But it's not that simple. I tried to do it and mine doesn't look as good as this. So
years of practice, years and years and years of practice. Also, it's like I can see, and also being an illustrator myself, I know the style. I like to take the exact style from the book and the characters, and I incorporate that with the type of like digital pen that I'm using. So for this style, you use a more solid line because they're more solid. Whereas I wish I had a book here to demonstrate it, but the ones that are more like watercolor or they look more rough sketches, I use a different digital pencil to mimic that style.
that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like when we went back and forth and sharing those ideas, our very first meeting, when we came together and said, okay, you tell me what you want. I gave you probably 10 ideas and then you looked at those and then you said, well, I have these ideas. What do you think of these? And that's just that back and forth. Then you have to remember how many pages you have, but you want enough. And then some of them are double-sided, some of them aren't. So just trying to nail down how many, like John's camping, we had to really think about more pages. The Riley book, we had that nailed down pretty quickly. What are your thoughts about the two books, one versus the other, Harleigh?
Say the space one was easier to come up with ideas for. That I don't know why, but it was just so much easier and straightforward. But the camping one is a little bit more advanced in age, so the age group went up a little bit. So we had to think about, okay, we can't keep it as simple as in the space one because the space one would be good for 4 to 7 or 4 to 6 year olds. or even like 3 to 6, like 3 to 6 year olds could do the space one. Whereas John's camping, because there's more technical ideas and you're actually going like National Geographic on it. It has to be for a little bit older kids. So it's what are they learning in school or what are they still developing? So that's why I think it took longer to come up with activity page ideas.
And what I like about the camping book, you were talking about the multi-layer. If a family has, let's say, 2 boys and a girl or 2 girls and a boy, you have different age groups. You might have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old or a 2-year-old. Riley is more simple. And then getting those kids together and that wide age group, the older ones are going to help the younger ones put whatever together. But then to have both activity books like in a camp trailer or in your RV. And that was really important to me, to be able to take them and have activities when they go camping. Yeah. But then at night, you're sitting around the campfire. These activity books, you could be doing them around the campfire as well.
Definitely. Also, it just gives them more screen-free activities. I know as a parent of a young child, I'm like, dang, he is on the TV too much or he's on his little tablet too much because like he's into video games now. Like he's at that age where he's really into video games, but it's like, okay, I don't want to like take away video games from him because you can learn a lot of things from video games. But it's like, but what can you incorporate that is screen free, more like hands on and like technical and developmental? So I think these books are really good for that too.
I think they are both so much fun to create. I feel like they didn't take that long.
No, I don't think so.
Although not in an overall grand scheme of how long it takes you to create illustrations, and a book can take up to 6 months. Were these created in a couple of months, 2 or 3 months?
I think it was about 3 months for both of them. And I also formatted both of them. I did all the activity pages and formatted them within like 3 months.
That, and I went back to my illustrator. She created the cover and the back cover. I knew I wanted the paint splatter on the back so the illustrations would be cohesive
Right.
with the books themselves. But at first I thought, I don't know if I want to spend money on an activity book. Not, but now that they're done, I am so glad that I have them in with my book collection, because I think it's just so much fun that kids can create with the books.
And also, I think you mentioned you brought it to a school visit and the teachers were flipping over it. They were excited that you had this accompanying activity book.
Yes, they did. When the teachers saw them, I don't think I had enough for all the teachers. They were grabbing 2 and 3 each. And whether they were buying them for another teacher or for kids, they could, and the way you created this, they could take these apart. And I think one teacher was going to do that. She was going to take them apart and make those activities lesson plans. You can create a lesson plan out of this. One's my very, very favorite. This is a great lesson plan with the bacteria. This was an illustration in the Yellowstone and the colors of the bacteria. I know there were 2 or 3 pages that talked about the colors in Yellowstone of the water and the bacteria and what those colors. And you said, oh, this is kind of a repeat. But if you think about it, there's 3 different lesson plans there. They were big hits at one school that I went to.
That's so cool. And also, how are you marketing your books? Because I know there's, we market our books differently. We all have our different strategies. What's your strategy for marketing your activity books? I don't think I ever asked you about that.
That's interesting that you bring that up, because marketing is always a big conversation. Early on, I think everybody knows I paid for Amazon advertising. I'm not paying for Amazon advertising for activity books, mainly because of the cost of it. And I don't want to invest money into something that I'm not making a whole lot of money in. That's more of a business decision for me.
Yeah.
I take them to school visits and farmers markets is where I'm selling them the most. I feel like when they see the cover right away, they want to pick it up because of the color and the illustrations. And then when they flip through it, they literally flip through almost every page to see what's in there. And I want to say it almost sells itself. When I bring it to schools, I like to show it. Here's the activity book with the series set of books. So that's kind of how I'm marketing it. I think on social media for camping month in June, I had all 3 covers and I had just launched now available the activity book. So marketing purposes, I'm marketing it within that series.
Okay, very cool. I'm glad you answered that question because I was curious. I know that you were thinking about different ways of marketing and selling it, but I'm just glad I could actually pick your brain on it now.
I really wanted it for my farmers markets. I felt like those school events, but the farmers market, I felt like, and I sell more in school events than I do in farmers markets, the activity books.
Okay, that's cool.
But I haven't had both of these for a full school year. I had Riley last year, didn't have John's camping adventures. So I'm excited to take it to the schools. Same way with my chapter book. I haven't had it in the schools yet.
Ooh, that's exciting.
As I finished it, I launched that in June. I'm glad you asked about that because marketing is always a challenge. And I think I was almost, I'm going to say hung up on a little bit for the lack of a better word of I didn't want to spend too much money. I don't want to advertise it. I don't want to put a lot of money into it because I wasn't sure whether I was going to get it out. And it's one of those things, it's tangible. You have to take it to that school visit and you have to take it to the farmer's market and people need to physically see it to fully understand what it's all about. However, on my A+ content, and I'm finding a lot of people use their A+ content on their books for marketing, I use all 5 modules and one of them down at the bottom, I have different books that you put the ISBN number or ASIN number and you can click to send it over to the other book. But on the activity book, I have the pages on that A+ content. So cool. You visually have to show them what's in there.
I know, because I know with nowadays, a lot of people are using AI to create activity pages and they're just using, ChatGPT. There's another program that you can use. But I know that a lot of people are like just using AI to create them and they're just uploading it onto Amazon and they're just trying to make a quick buck that way. So a lot of people, when they go onto Amazon, like as a parent, they're like, is this just like another like filler, like sloppy put together activity book? So I think you incorporating that into the A+ content, here are the actual pages and you can see every single page looks like the other one. So it's not AI. I did them all, but like you can see that it was made by a human. So I think that was really important.
Yes, it was very important. And even on books themselves, I don't like my illustrations to look like everybody else's. And I didn't want this activity book to be just another coloring book. And I think that's what held me back from making the activity book until you and I met, Harleigh, and our brainstorming magic.
I know. It is magical.
It is magical. Are you working on any other activity books? Are you working on anything like these 2 books?
Yeah, so I'm actually in the process of doing 2 of them right now for 2 other authors. And then I finished another one for another author around the same time as I finished yours. So I'm pretty much always working on 2 activity books at a time.
Wow, really that cool. Is wonderful. I love that.
I think it's really fun to bring everybody's books to life in a different way, and I can help with that. It's really fun for me too. I've learned some new things from everybody else's like perspective and what they want, so I can make it better for future activity books for other authors.
What I like about the activity book in a book series is it's something different that extends that book series. I was talking to somebody yesterday that has a nephew that loves space, and I didn't bring up the activity book just because it was a short conversation. But I got to thinking that was that whole thing where it's a little boy and this is a little girl, but he loves space. And I don't think it'll make any difference. But the activity book is an extension of that. And that's what I've learned through the process of creating this activity book and the uniqueness of it is what a fun extension for a book series. So if anybody has a book series and they want to do, rather than maybe another book in that book series, think about doing an activity book because they are a lot of fun to create.
And teachers flip for them. Teachers love them. And if we want to reach more teachers as children's book authors, that is our target market for the most part. They will literally flip their lid if they see you have resources accompanying the book. I hear that all the
Yes.
time. I actually don't have an activity book for myself yet, but I have so many like free activity pages on my website, and they're really like highly developed. But the amount of teachers that have personally messaged me or emailed me or DM'd me saying, these resources are gold for our classrooms. Can you send me the link to your book? Because I need to, get the book and read it to them. And then I can use this in one of my lessons. So I think just having that as an extension of your books is another great marketing plan too.
Well, Harleigh, I feel like it has been so wonderful.
We're doing very noble things as children's book authors. Like, we're trying to empower more kids and inspire them, help them with improving their literacy skills, developmental skills. We're doing God's work as children's book authors. And there's strength in numbers. So if we all band together and we bounce ideas off of each other and we support each other, we could help change kids' futures.
Absolutely. Harleigh, share with our listeners where they can find you if they want to create an activity book, and follow us on social media. Go ahead and share that, and then I'll also put it in the description.
Okay, perfect. So if you want an activity book created by me, you only need to reach out to me via DM on Instagram. We can get started that way. My Instagram is at DOPPYS official. Same for my Facebook. And if you want to look at other marketing tips that I share, I actually have a whole YouTube channel about marketing tips and children's book marketing and publishing, all that. That one is author Harleigh Rose. That's my YouTube channel. And those are my socials.
Wonderful, Harleigh. That's all for now. Tune in next time, and don't forget to follow and subscribe on Spotify and YouTube.
Thank you so much for having me, JoAnn.
Thank you, Harleigh. Thanks for joining me on today's episode of Beyond the Book with JoAnn Dickinson. If you've enjoyed our conversation, don't forget to follow the show on Spotify or your favorite podcast app. Leave a review. It helps others discover the podcast. Share this episode with a friend or fellow book lover. Visit my website at JoAnnMDickinsonAuthor.com for free resources, author interviews, and more. Until next time, keep dreaming big and turning the page on your next great idea.